Hello, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This is Ian, and today we're looking at Story 88, The Deadly Assassin, starring Tom Baker. Now, this episode, or serial, is generally considered one of the best of the classic series, and I can see why. It is inventive and unpredictable. It also features one of the Master's, of what I've seen, best outings as the villain. And this episode is also, I believe, the first one to take place on Gallifrey. And it's also the only episode of the classic series, other than Mission to the Unknown, which doesn't really count, that features the Doctor without a companion. Now, the basic plot of the story is the Doctor receives a premonition of the president of Gallifrey's assassination, so he hurries home, where he is accused of being a murderer by the Master, as the Master and his compatriot assassinate the president of Gallifrey and frame the Doctor, who then has to prove his innocence by going into the Matrix of Gallifrey and defeating the villain, who I won't tell you who it is. You know, other than the Master. Who the Master's compatriot is, I will not tell you who that is. So, eventually, the Doctor is in the Matrix and encounters all sorts of weird things, like clowns and doctors and evil train people and a samurai, and just lots of weird Matrix things. And so, ultimately, after a duel with the Master's compatriot, who is in the Matrix as well, the Doctor escapes and tracks down the Master, who pretends to be dead. And after that, he revives himself and tries to break into the Eye of Harmony to gain another set of regenerations, as he is in his 13th and final body. And ultimately, the Doctor stops him, but the Master escapes. Again. As usual. Now, the reason why this episode is so good is, as I said, just the plot is very new. It's a plot we hadn't seen before, and I really like it. And it establishes a lot about the Doctor's home planet and the customs of the Time Lords, and it also establishes their hats, which is debatable on whether that is a good or bad thing. But anyway, the Master, his makeup is not very believable, but that doesn't mean he's not creepy. And, I mean, he's like a corpse, so. There's only, and this is, 1970-something, so there's only a certain amount of believability that could be put into his makeup, but I think they did a good job for what they had available. Also, the Matrix scenes are some of my favorite scenes that I've seen from classic Doctor Who, as it features the Doctor in another reality, completely alien to his own, trying to fight against, basically, it's basically like someone in a dream trying to fight the dreamer. And he comes up with plans and plots to escape and to catch the dreamer, and ultimately succeeds. One interesting fact about this episode is that episode 3 featured what I think is the last footage censored from a BBC master tape, and that is when the Doctor is being drowned, which which the BBC decided was too violent, but it was edited back in for the DVD release, but not for the VHS release. So, ultimately, this is a really good episode, and it's one of my favorites. And I don't have that much more to say about it. I think the Tom Baker is, as usual, great as the Doctor, and he has some of my favorite lines from his Doctor, and I think the characters are very good, but the one thing about this episode that always annoyed me is the very last scene, where Angan and Castellan watch the Doctor fly away, and then they see the Master taking off in his TARDIS, and they're all like, "Oh, look, the Master." I don't know why that... It just seems very monotonous as they say it. Like, they're pointing out a rainbow or something. But I guess, I don't know. Anyway, so overall, this episode is very good, and it's also a good episode, I think, for someone who does not have that much experience with never mind about forget that, because it's not. But it's a good episode anyway, and I would give it, I would definitely recommend it to anyone, and I would give this story a 10 out of 10. See you next time.